The greatest thing you can do for your kids is learn to focus on yourself. That statement might not make complete sense right now. It might, in fact, seem downright offensive. What? Turn the focus away from my children and onto myself? Isn't that against all the rules? No, it isn't. I'm not proposing that you put your children last on the list, far from it. What I am saying is that by focusing on yourself, you will have a calmer, happier relationship with your whole family. You see, most of us have been operating with a faulty model of relationships. That's not to say all our relationships are faulty, but the model sure is. We've been operating with a model that says in order to have healthy relationships, we need to focus on meeting other people's needs. To even question such a model draws controversy, I know, but stay with me. By focusing on yourself, you will have a calmer, happier relationship with your whole family. Screamfree Parenting will discuss why this model is so faulty, particularly in our parent-child relationships. For now, there are a few simple points we should consider. First, it's a given that there are things in this world we can control and things we cannot. So, how smart is it to focus our energy on something we can't resolve, something we cannot control? Answer, not very. Follow-up question. Which category do our kids fall into? Are children something we can control or something we cannot? Here are even tougher questions. Even if you could control your kids, should you? Is that what parenting is all about? Finally, what if it's not the kids who are out of control? Who's really out of control here? My kids, Hannah and Brandon, were 4 and 2, and it was one of those Saturday mornings. My wife Jenny and I had stayed up way too late on Friday night, which guaranteed our kids would get up way too early the next day. And so the weekend began with a lot of whining and crying and complaining, and the kids were upset as well. So I decided, in my parenting expert wisdom, to get us all out of the house by heading to Waffle House for breakfast. Now, the first Waffle House we walked into was just too crowded, but thankfully there is no shortage of Waffle Houses in suburban Atlanta. So we piled back into the car, strapped our children into their car seats, quieted disappointed whines with promises of maple syrup, and drove the 100 yards or so to a second Waffle House. And the line at the second one was just as long as the one at the first. There was no way we were getting the kids back into the car for another trip, however, so we decided to wait it out. Thankfully, the staff at this Waffle House was thinking. They had crayons and blank paper for the kids. My wife and I could get in even a little adult conversation. A win-win situation. As if that weren't enough, a sign caught my eye. If my children drew a picture, they were entitled to a paper Waffle House hat, just like the grill man wears, and a free waffle. Sometimes life is good. The kids colored. My wife and I talked. The time flew, and before we knew it, we were seated. My wife and daughter on one side of the booth, my son and I on the other. They brought the kids their paper hats, and even I tried one on. If you've never been to a Waffle House, you would be amazed at the consistency of the architecture from one restaurant to the next. All the tables surround the kitchen, and wall-length windows surround the tables. It's very open, and it's easy to notice the goings-on of others. Now, while I was feeling pretty good by this time, my kids hadn't eaten anything all morning. Hungry kids who've done nothing but wait around can be restless. Hannah, our 4-year-old, handled it all right. Just garden variety complaints. But Brandon, our 2-year-old, sure was feeling 2 years old, if you know what I mean. 2-year-olds generally have no regard for things like practicing an inside voice or using words like a big boy when they've been forced in and out of a car with nothing to eat but promises of food to come. Cooperating with me was not high on Brandon's list of priorities at the time. Enjoying a nice family breakfast didn't seem like such a good idea now.